Did you know that Frank Fritz, beloved star of American Pickers, suffered a life-altering stroke in 2022, leaving fans shocked and concerned? His journey from a passionate collector to a household name was filled with unexpected turns, rising to fame, facing personal struggles, and ultimately disappearing from the show that made him famous. He battled illness, heartbreak, and inner demons, all while keeping a smile on his face for the cameras. But what really happened in his final years? And why was Mike Wolfe's response so controversial? Stay with us as we dive into the untold story of Frank Fritz and the shocking truth behind his departure. Frank Fritz's journey wasn't just about collecting antiques. It was about seeing history where others saw junk. From a young age, he had an eye for the forgotten and the discarded, a skill that would eventually make him a household name. Born on October 11, 1963 in Davenport, Iowa, Frank wasn't like most kids his age. While others were busy with sports or video games, he was searching for hidden treasures, coins, stamps, beer cans, and even old razor blades. If it had a story, Frank wanted to know it. Imagine being a young boy stepping into an antique shop filled with the scent of aged paper and polished wood, the ticking of grandfather clocks filling the silence. Most kids would be bored, but not Frank. He was captivated. Every item had a past, a mystery waiting to be solved. Who had held this pocket watch? What stories could an old sign tell? As he grew older, Frank's interests expanded. His small collectibles turned into bigger finds, motorcycles, dirt bikes, and rare memorabilia. He spent weekends at flea markets, garage sales, and estate auctions, always on the hunt. To Frank, it wasn't just a hobby, it was an adventure. Despite his deep love for antiques, Frank took an unexpected path after high school. Instead of jumping straight into the business, he worked as a fire inspector in Iowa for nearly 25 years, a stable job with a steady paycheck. But even in this role, his passion for collecting never faded. He started collecting firehouse memorabilia, helmets, extinguishers, and antique fire alarms, each telling the history of the brave men who used them. Eventually, he realized his passion wasn't just a hobby, it had real financial value. Taking a leap of faith, he opened Frank's Finds, an antique shop specializing in firemen's equipment and rare collectibles. He was no longer just a collector, he was a businessman turning his passion into a career. Frank Fritz will always be remembered for American Pickers, the show that made him a household name. Alongside Mike Wolfe, he traveled the country in search of hidden gems. But their journey wasn't just about rusty motorcycles and vintage signs. It was about friendship, passion, and ultimately, a heartbreaking fallout. Mike and Frank weren't childhood best friends, as many assumed. Though they both grew up in Iowa, they didn't grow particularly close until later in life. Their shared passion for antiques brought them together, forming a bond that would later be tested. Mike was the visionary, the big dreamer who saw picking as something more than a hobby. He wanted to turn it into a television show. Frank, on the other hand, was more laid back. He loved the hunt but was content running his antique shop. When Mike pitched the idea of American Pickers, Frank was skeptical. But after years of persistence, the History Channel took a chance on the show in 2010, and it became an instant hit. The chemistry between Mike and Frank was undeniable. Mike was the businessman and deal maker, while Frank was the heart of the show. His humor and authenticity made him a fan favorite. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. In 2020, fans noticed something strange. Frank was missing from episodes. At first, the explanation was vague. Later, it was revealed that he had stepped away due to health issues, including major back surgery and a battle with addiction. Many assumed he would return, but months passed with no sign of him. Then in 2021, the news broke. Frank was officially out. Mike released a statement wishing him the best, but Frank saw things differently. In interviews, Frank claimed Mike never reached out during his recovery. He felt betrayed. After working together for over a decade, traveling thousands of miles and building a successful show, Mike never called to check on him. Frank believed Mike had wanted him gone for a long time. Fans were divided. Some blamed Frank's personal struggles, while others accused Mike of abandoning his longtime partner. The show continued, but something was missing. For many, American Pickers without Frank just didn't feel the same. Even after leaving the show, Frank remained close to fans, but behind the scenes, his struggles continued. His health declined and personal issues mounted. He faced battles that most people never saw. In his darkest hours, an old friend came back into his life, Mike Wolfe. Despite their past, Mike reached out to Frank, showing that, at the end of the day, their connection ran deeper than television. Frank Fritz's journey was filled with triumphs and tragedies. He was more than a collector, he was a storyteller, a passionate seeker of history, and a man who never stopped chasing what he loved. Though his time on American Pickers ended in controversy, his legacy in the world of picking remains strong. As fans remember Frank, they don't just see an antique collector, they see a man who turned his passion into a lifelong adventure. And in the end, that's what made him truly unforgettable. Thanks for watching.